Welcome back to the Mailrite Show. This is episode 271. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Jonathan, founder of Mailrite, and we are so happy to have Kyle Handy with us today. Kyle, welcome to the Mailrite Show. If you would do us a favor and introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I appreciate you having me on the show today. Kyle Handy, I'm out here in San Antonio, Texas. I've been an agent for about 12 years now and done just about everything you can imagine within the residential real estate space, and just fell in love with real estate back in 2008. And now I'm excited to be able to help and teach a lot of agents. That's kind of my passion now. I've got a YouTube channel, I've got a blog, all that good stuff. And I'm excited to share some things with your audience today.
So guys, here, for those of you listening, those new users, and actually before I move on, John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know
Yeah,
who you
sure.
are.
And I'm really excited that Cole managed to join us. He's had some business, been really busy on his business side. But Cole's got a fantastic YouTube channel where he really delves into some really great subjects. I'm the founder of Mailrite. It's a platform to help you, the agent, in your first, second, third year, get more quality leads so you can build up that business to the level that you want for yourself and for your family. If that sounds interesting, go over to Mailrite. You can book a free consultation with me, and we can have a chat, and I can show you how Mailrite works.
And I'm Robert Newman. I'm a long-term vet of the real estate marketing industry. My specialty has always been inbound marketing and SEO. Some of what Kyle is, and I can't begin to tell you how excited I am for the audience to hear Kyle, because he's going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is what to do in your first 30 days. And he's also going to have an emphasis on content marketing, which is basically producing. The way that I identify content marketing is if you feel like people at large have a burning question that you can answer, then you should somehow present that answer to them. Kyle has done an amazing job of that on his YouTube channel. So Kyle, why don't you go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about that channel, how you got into it, content marketing, because I think that's the direction you're headed. And then maybe we go and talk about what you do if you were an agent in your first 30 days or something like that.
Yeah, you bet. So, it's kind of a funny story how I got started into content marketing and my YouTube channel and all that. But, it basically started about 18 months ago that I kind of decided I was going to start up a blog, start up a YouTube channel. And it was because, at that point in time, I really had just started to grow my team nationwide. I've got now a team of about 360 agents that I work with, mostly here in the United States. I've got agents in about 34 different states, and then also in 3 Canadian provinces that I work with. And they were asking, the same questions, it seemed like, over and over as I would, get new agents, onboarding them and that type of thing. And I was like, man, instead of me, answering these questions one off, why not start, and make a video for each of the questions? And that way I can just point people to these videos when I get that question. And that's kind of what started the YouTube channel. And then it started my journey down the content marketing path, which got me like really excited about what the opportunities could be in, not just the team building side, but even just as being a real estate agent, the opportunities that are available, because there's not a whole lot of realtors that are really tackling that side of the business. Most of them focus on kind of the more traditional approaches of getting clients and leads within real estate, outbound prospecting, buying leads on Facebook, buying leads on Zillow, all these types of things. And I talk about, one of the biggest ways, especially in our business of real estate, it's a people business. You're building relationships with other people. And now with everybody being online, if you can be that go-to resource for somebody, that you're answering their questions, and if you can do it via video, you can do it on podcast, you do it on a blog, you're going to be getting a lot more inbound leads versus always constantly having to prospect and cold call and do that kind of thing.
Brilliant. Well, you're definitely singing my tune now, John. Before I just launch into what I think that you meant, because prior to the show, everybody, we were saying, hey, what are we going to talk about? And John was like, hey, let's talk about your first 30 days. Did you mean his first 30 days doing content because it's only 18 months
No,
old?
it's Cole did a fantastic video about what agent should do in their first 30 days, and it was filled with I'm not trying to be disparaging here. It was filled with actionable advice, which you just don't get from your training and from the broker. And it was just filled with practical advice. So I would love for Cole to be able to share that, Robert.
Okay. So Kyle, yeah, I mean, he teed that up pretty well. I guess, hold on a second. I'm gonna actually take a look at you. Those of you who are listening in your cars, and I know that's a lot of you, you can't see the channel, but I'd strongly recommend that you simply go to YouTube and Google got Kyle Handy and look at his channel. Some of his videos already have 16, 17,000 views. I don't know if this particular video is one of them. I can't seem to find the one that John is mentioning, but why don't you go ahead and explain to us what the thought process was as you created the video and then what the content on the video was?
Yeah. So, I guess, I had to think back when I was making this video as to like what my recollection was of getting into real estate. And, obviously, I think even when I was just getting started, I mean, there's just so much that goes on in your head, and there's just so many things that are trying to pull you in different directions when you're getting started in real estate. Because one friend might tell you, oh, this is working great for me, and then another person says, oh, well, this works great for me, and then you got your brokerage that's telling you a certain way to do things, and you've just got all these different things. And it's gotten harder now with, I mean, like all of the resources like YouTube and podcast. I mean, they're great. It's amazing. I mean, obviously I run a channel, and I mean, I enjoy that people watch them and stuff, but sometimes too I feel like agents they just they're overloaded with information. And so one of the reasons why I made that video is kind of, I just and this was kind of what I talk about in the video is I think when you get into the business, you've got to keep things as simple as possible, because regardless, things are going to pull you in different directions. So if you come into the business, for one, you've got to set a business plan, at least a defined, like what you're going to focus on for those first 30 days. And really, even though I preach on content and creating, great, inbound methods for people to get in touch with you, typically those are, in my experience, they take a little bit longer to take off. It can take anywhere from 6 months, a year, before really they start to produce some measurable results. And so what I tell people getting out of the gate, because this is kind of a disclaimer to my channel, is even though I talk about this, that is kind of like my background method. But when you're first getting going, you got to actually take some actionable, like prospecting type results in the beginning to get your plane off the runway, so to speak. So it's not just going to like, unless you're okay with maybe not getting some closings for 6 months or something like that, which most people aren't. They need closings right away. I tell you, I say, hey, what you do in the first 30 days may look different than what you're going to do a year from now. But in the beginning, you've got to pick one lead generation source that you're going to become an expert on. And the majority of your day, especially, in the very beginning of the day, early on, between, I say from 7 o'clock until noon, 7 a.m. till noon, you need to be prospecting. You got to figure out, are you going to be like, do you have a big sphere of influence in your local market? And if so, then that's who you're going to prospect to for the first, 4 hours or so. You work on scripts the first hour of your day, whether it's with a partner, if it's in front of a mirror, just figuring out what you're going to say, kind of, getting yourself ready for those calls. And then you're on the phones for the next 4 hours. And so it can either be to sphere of influence, it can either be to, fizz up for sale by owners or expireds. It could be to other new home builders or other agents, so you can start hosting open houses for them if that's going to be your strategy. But whatever it is, you've got to pick a strategy, and you got to feel good about it, and you got to go all in. You got to become an expert as much as you can be in those first 30 days about that subject. And you can't be afraid to fail and make mistakes early on in the business, because we're all going to make mistakes. But I think what agents do is, for one, they try a few different things. And, they might say, oh, I'm going to try, Facebook ads. I'm going to do a little bit on social media, which, who even knows what that means? I'm going to do something on social media. It's like, it's so vague, and like, but you gotta, again, figure out, it's usually going to be prospecting based, because whatever moves the needle, especially early on, is you being on the phone with somebody, a potential person that you can set an appointment with. And you got to have that be your end all be all goal. Then in the afternoon, and I actually prescribe this kind of throughout that video, but in the afternoon, I talk about there are just, general things that sometimes we've got to do as agents to kind of, get through a transaction. If maybe it's, going and showing properties, or it's going to a listing appointment, I always try and schedule that stuff for the afternoon, so it doesn't muddle my morning up with prospecting, because prospecting always has to come first. And you always have to do it, especially in the beginning of your business. And I think so many agents, they're thinking they're staying busy, because they probably are. They're probably doing a lot of things, maybe they're taking other trainings, and they're just, I don't know, doing their marketing. They're maybe making posts on social media. They're doing all these things. So it's not like they're lazy. It's not like they're not doing work, but they're not doing the work that moves the needle, which again, when you're trying to get that plane going, it's got to be prospecting at first. And then eventually, as you're, kind of, growing your business, and you're becoming more established, you're learning more things, you're kind of creating content and building some funnels and things like that. Then you can, back off the prospecting. Like today, I don't do any prospecting. I don't do any outbound prospecting. All the business that I do comes from my website, comes from my content, people reaching out to me. But it took me, I've been in the business 12 years now. So, I mean, it doesn't always come that way. But again, now that, more people are starting to understand how content marketing works, I've got an agent in my group. He started a YouTube channel, and now within about 6 months or so, I mean, he's getting about 8 to 10 leads, and these are, good leads. They're actually reaching out to him because he's creating content specific to San Antonio on YouTube. And so anyways, I mean, it doesn't have to take 12 years, but I just say that it's not going to happen month one. If you need business month 1, month 2, month 3, you've got to involve yourself with some type of outbound prospecting.
Wasn't that a fantastic way of explaining it? Carl, you've just done a great job, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of summarized the whole year of MailRite up into a 20-minute dialogue, right? It was, which is brilliant. And for those, again, for those of you listening, and we all have our, Kyle, John and I speak to different audiences. He's a Facebook guy. I'm a Google guy. But which, by the way, you touched on in a weird way, something that John and I actually talk about in the show with each other often. You should pick, even professional marketers like John and I, we pick areas of expertise. Our companies, we're not big enough to be specialists in everything. I am not trying to be a specialist in Facebook. He is not trying to be a specialist in Google. These are huge.
Oh, I've got to make it clear I've actually got a partner now that is the expert on Facebook. He actually builds the campaigns. I would say I'm a more WordPress marketing generalist, but I know a hell of a lot about WordPress. But I have Adam. Adam is my partner that over the past year has been producing the actual Facebook campaigns, Robert. So I just want to make that clear.
Fair enough. Well, fair enough. Your business, your core philosophies are centered around Facebook, like right now, part of it is. And my core philosophies are centered around Google. But what Kyle was touching on, I feel like, is he's saying, hey, pick something, focus on something, whether it doesn't have to be digital for those of you listening to the show. He touched on a number of non-digital sources, and his YouTube channel touches on a ton of them. Are these videos that are on your channel, are they tutorial kind of videos? Because I've only watched a couple, and it was a while ago. So are these all, like, can somebody that does not know, let's say, I'll read one of these off. If somebody doesn't know about, now Zapier is a bad example. Real estate open houses, tips, sales tracker. So if I'm a new agent and I don't know anything about new open houses, and I click this video, am I going to learn how to market at open houses?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that I did find with, a lot of other realtor YouTube channels out there was that, a lot of them, and not saying anything bad about them, but they're very just, kind of like high level, like general ideas, but there wasn't like, hey, let me share my screen and actually show you, these are the physical scripts that I'm using. This is how I type it out. This is how I give it to people. And that's what my channel is. I go through, step by step, and I say, hey, this is the exact way that I do it. Copy me. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, right? Like, watch the videos, do what's in there. And if it fits your business, obviously I talk about a lot of different topics. And I'm not telling everybody, and that's one of the things, again, keep it simple. I don't tell everybody to go out there and do everything that I say, but if one of the videos that I'm talking about speaks to what you're doing in your business, then absolutely, you should take that and try that out for you and for your business. But yeah, and then, speaking to about, like the content thing and the Facebook thing, it's funny because, here's my general philosophy with that. Because I've done a lot of Facebook ads back in the day, and now, obviously I'm on kind of more on the content side. Is, we all know, I mean, Google's the #1 search engine in the world. YouTube is the #2 ranked search engine in the world. If you look at the average length that your content stays, in front of viewers on each of those different types of platforms, outside of course, if you're, paying to promote these posts, but like, let's just say you put a post on Facebook, how long is it really staying in front of somebody? Versus you create a blog post, you create a, a YouTube video. And I mean, I get people that have watched my videos for, a year ago or 18 months ago when I first started my thing, that are reaching out to me today to kind of work with me as an agent. And that just doesn't typically happen, with other social media platforms. And so I think, the reason why I'm such a, I push that onto people as far as the content side is, I think as agents, one of the things that's so frustrating is the fact that we always feel like we're kind of on this hamster wheel. For one, it's kind of how our compensation is built, right? Like, you have a closing, you get paid, you're on top of the world, and then you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh crap, I got to go do it again, and you feel like you're starting back from zero. And most agents, that's how they run their marketing side of the business, right? They are like active on social media. They make a post on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever it might be. And then they're like, oh crap, I got to go do it again 3 days later, 2 days later, right? Whereas I try and tell people like, hey, tap into the power of Google, tap into the power of YouTube, make a video, let it work for you for a year, for 2 years. That way, as you're creating new content, your new content is going to, bring you some success along with the content that you built a year ago, 2 years ago, as you start to build on top of that. And that's how you begin to scale your business and not feel always kind of like beholden to, constantly having to create more and more content to stay in front of people.
Yeah, we need to go for our break, Robert, sure. And then we can continue after we come back.
That's been an excellent first section, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be right back after these commercial messages. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to the Mailrite Show, folks. We're on the second half of our amazing interview with Kyle Handy. Kyle Handy is many things. He's a real estate vet. He is a content marketer. He has been an amazing guest. We've been talking about how he's been leveraging YouTube and other forms of Google tools, such as a blog, in order to educate and create enduring value for you, the consumer, the people listening to the show, as well as for himself as both an agent and as an EXP. What is your title there? Is it a team leader or broker? How do you title yourself inside that system?
I'm a team leader here at EXP.
Okay, so as a team leader at EXP, is 386 agents worldwide working with him, which makes him by far and away one of the larger individual broker types that we've had on the show. But I know the EXP system is a little bit different.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I love, if it's okay with you, Rob, I love for Carl to talk about his latest YouTube video, EXP against Keller Williams. And no, but just to say, I think Keller Williams, his red book, How to Become it's still a fantastic book, even though it's a bit cheesy. I listened to the audio book. I've listened to it 3 times, and it is a bit cheesy, the audio book, but it's still filled with enormous insight and actionable content.
First which audio book are you talking about?
The book, the
Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
His book.
Yep.
I still think it's an excellent book.
It is.
What's your feelings about that? And I'm sorry to butt in, Robert, but I just couldn't resist it.
Do you butt in during one of my sentences? That never happens.
No.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, that was the first book I ever read getting into real estate, and I still read it. You know, I haven't read it probably in the last year, but I usually would read it, you know, a few times. Like I've probably read it through it probably 4 or 5 times, as you know, my experience in being in real estate, and it is a fantastic book. It's actually kind of the book that, you know, the concept of having a 7th level business where essentially you build your business, you know, throughout those first six levels to where, you know, eventually you get out where you can step out of the actual production role, and just kind of manage and, you know, see things from a higher view. And that was, you know, always like after I read that, I was like, that's where I want to get to. So that's kind of what motivated me. But, you know, that's just one section of the book. The other 6 sections is all like, how do you get started? How do you, you know, and very actionable things too. And like, it talks a lot about finances and like, you know, how to structure, like, you know, what to spend on your marketing budget, you know, what to spend, you know, for just different, you know, aspects of your business. And I think that was very helpful to me to at least know, you know, some of that stuff. And now it's funny because Robert had mentioned, like, one of the things he found out for me was that I do an income report on my blog at kylehandy.com. And basically on that, what I do is I just go through exactly what I spend and what I earn. And the reason why, and I think it started back with, you know, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Outside of that book, I didn't see anywhere else that people shared like what a realtor could or should make, what a realtor could or should spend, you know, in different aspects of their business. And sure enough, ever since I started that, that's probably the one thing of my blog that has gotten the most recognition, like people thanking me, oh my gosh, you know, that's so amazing to see, you know, exactly what it is, you know, that you know, you spend your money on, or that you earn your money from. And I've done that over the last 5 years, since 2015. So you can kind of see how my business has evolved since 2015. And it's really interesting because, you know, back in 2015, I was a broker owner, you know, here in San Antonio. I had a brokerage. We had about 15 agents. And I went from having those 15 agents, and, you know, and I did that all the way up through 2017, which is when I ended up joining EXP and partnering here. But people can see that journey, why I kind of started going down the idea of like looking for something different, and then what has transpired since, you know, making that move, and also what's transpired in my general real estate business. Because now finally I can say, I mean, as of, you know, 2020, this year, just about 3 months ago, I've now, you know, been able to fully step out of production. I've finally hit that 7th level business where now I can, you know, refer all my deals, you know, to agents in my group, and earn, you know, all these, you know, referral fees, so to speak, from the agents that are in my team. So it's been a really amazing, you know, deal. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent kind of started it all. And so I definitely recommend it as a book for people to read.
Yeah, anybody should read it that's serious.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I kind of butted in, because it deals with building a sphere of influence. It's about having a database. It's not, I think they updated it recently, and it does deal with the digital world to some extent. But the basic core fundamentals that we were talking about in the first half of the show are totally explained in that book, aren't they? And then he delves further as you build your business. So he kind of deals with the first steps all the way on to hopefully what you're doing in the last 3 months, basically. Mm-hmm. There's not many books that don't go through the whole thing, is there?
Not at all. Yeah, no, that was a very, very cool book, just to like open my eyes from the beginning as to like what, you know, I should be focused on right away, but then also what the potential in the future could be. And it just was kind of like that carrot dangling out in front of me, like, hey, one day I want to get to that part of my business. I mean, I went through all sorts of, you know, things that I made mistakes on, and things that I learned from to get to where I am. But ultimately, I always knew that in the back of my mind, within real estate, that was possible. So
that's an actionable thing you should do, listeners and viewers. I'll make sure there's a link that goes to the book on Amazon, and either get the physical book or listen to the audio version. You'll be doing yourself a big favor.
Yeah.
Back over to you, Robert.
Well, here's Well, let's follow up on the original question because we went two directions there. He asked you a question about EXP Realty versus Keller Williams. Now, here's John and I sometimes have separate thoughts. At some point, I would kind of like to address. Here's something we've never ever asked on the show to any guest, and we've got 200 of them. We've never asked them if using YouTube or content marketing is effective for recruiting agents. And we do have brokers and people like yourself or people like the person you used to be when you had your 15 people. We have those people listening to the show. So at some point, I'd like to get that question addressed. But I'd also like to follow up on John's original question and ask you, EXP versus Keller Williams, which should you choose? Like, just real quick, why don't you, we're giving you a chance to have a platform here. We have a few thousand people that listen to us. Well, eventually, kind of, sort of. So you're getting in front of a lot of real estate agents when you answer this question. Which of these, we know what you chose, but why did you choose it?
Yeah, so great question. I mean, what it, I guess, kind of boiled down for me, when I really looked at it was, what was the value that the brokerage could bring back to me, right? So like, because I think a lot of times, we are, just kind of like going day to day, like, out there grinding and kind of, the brokerage kind of, it's there, but what long-term benefits, what can the brokerage provide back in the sense of like building a business? And when I looked at both Keller Williams and EXP, EXP has something called revenue sharing. Keller Williams has something called profit sharing. And so the biggest difference between the two is that profit sharing is kind of what you earn for bringing in agents, building a team within the Keller Williams structure. But it's what you receive after all of the expenses of that market center are paid out. Whereas with revenue share, it is paid off the top gross commission income. So it's a significantly higher number. I mean, I've talked to numbers of Keller Williams agents that have been both at Keller Williams and at EXP, and they say it's anywhere from 6 to 10 times higher with the same amount of agents in your group. And I knew that I wanted to build a business beyond just what I could do myself. And if I was going to do that, why would I not want to team up with the company that was going to benefit the most from that standpoint? And then the second part of that is the fact that EXP Realty, our business model is just so much different than not only just Keller Williams, but any other real brokerage out there. We're not a franchise-based model. We are one independent brokerage, globally now at this point. And there's so many cool things that can happen from that. If you think about it, for one, because we're one brokerage, we are publicly traded. That's the other idea behind it. You can do a quick search for our publicly traded stock. It's EXPI is the ticker symbol on NASDAQ. We're trading at about $60 per share right now. I joined 3.5 years ago. The stock was at $3 per share. Okay. We had about 3,800 agents. Today we're at about 38,000 agents. And what's amazing is that EXP, for just selling real estate. Here's the thing, because EXP is not the only publicly traded brokerage. Remax is publicly traded, Realogy, Redfin. I mean, there's other publicly traded brokerages, but EXP is one of the only that gives agents stock compensation for doing what we're already doing. And so that to me, because again, I was a producing agent. I wanted two things. I wanted to be able to receive additional compensation when I sell, and I wanted to receive additional compensation as I chose to build a team. And what happened was, as I came to EXP, I still sold all the same amount of homes that I had sold previously to being at EXP. But when I did it here, they've got a great program called the Icon program, where literally once you cap, I pay my $16,000 in for the year, and then I do an additional 20 transactions for the year. They give me my $16,000 back in stock. And so what's really unique about that is I've not sold a single share of my stock since I joined. The first time that I hit Icon, the stock was at $6 a share. So I got $16,000 worth of EXP stock at $6 a share. Today it's at $60 a share. So that 16,000 is actually worth $160,000. In all total, from me being here for the last 3.5 years, I've got over 13,000 shares of EXP stock, which, I mean, you do the math on that, it's over $750,000. And what is just, to me, I didn't change anything in my business. I just still sold real estate, but I understood that if I did that over here at EXP, And I obviously, was a long-term hold, which in all of my investments, I've got, rental properties and things like that. I'm always kind of a long-term person. I'm young, so I know I got plenty of time ahead, right? I'm just going to hold on to things. And sure enough, that ended up panning out. And I still think, we're still just on the early stages of this. As far as, we're going globally, we're, again, what EXP is looking to do at some point is build like a global MLS where, because we are one independent brokerage, we're already a part of like 420 MLS systems in the US. And so we can combine and pool all of these listings together and really compete with, the Zillows and the Redfins and things like that. And so I think there was just so much to EXP. I've been, in multiple conversations with the founder now, Glenn Sanford, and I know where the vision's heading. That I truly feel that, when you compare it against, Keller Williams, albeit a great company, and even still today, they're a great company. I think what the difference for me was that Keller Williams, they're great at training, right? So if you're like a brand new agent or, you're just kind of getting started, again, he wrote the book on getting started in real estate, right? The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. They've got
Right.
Bold, they've got, all these, MAPS coaching. They've got a lot of great things for newer agents. They offer an office, so you got like a physical office space that you can go walk into and actually talk to somebody in person if that's something that you need. But for me, what I found is I would rather have all these extra opportunities and kind of be as kind of like what Wayne Gretzky says, go where the puck is heading versus, where it is. And so I just felt for my business and what I wanted out of real estate, EXP was going to be able to provide that a lot easier than trying to do the same thing within kind of a franchise-based model of Keller Williams.
We need to wrap up the podcast. Sorry, Robert, I'm terrible. We need to wrap up the podcast part of the show, Robert, and then hopefully Carl can stay on for another 10, 15 minutes, and I will shut up and give it all to you, Robert.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for our final break. For those of you who are listening to the show, you're going to want to tune into the Mail Right YouTube channel. John and his team are more consistent than I am. You can find the episodes on my website, and you can find some of them on my YouTube channel, but I have not done as good of a job. So if you want to watch the last bonus content, which I am going to hold, Kyle, first of all, are you available for another 10, 15 minutes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And so I'm going to hold Kyle to the answer that I was looking for, which is this content marketing stuff been good for him? And I have a comment, which John cut me off on, but I'm going to give it to about EXP versus Keller Williams. I have some of my own thoughts. So thank you for tuning in, John. If people wanted to reach you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah. So, the easiest way to do that is on, either Facebook or Instagram. You can search for @RealKyleHandy and just send me a message on there. That's probably the easiest way. Or head over to my blog, kylehandy.com, and, put in the contact us, there's a little message form. You can put a message in there and I will get back to you that way.
Lovely. And sorry, I said John. I did kind of mean Kyle, so thank you for picking up on that, Kyle.
No
John, but now I really do mean John. John, how can people reach you if they want to?
Just go to the Mail Right website and you can contact me really very easy. It's got the phone number, email, it's all on the website.
And the same is true of me. InboundREM.com is a great place to go to learn digital marketing. I focus more on the lead generation side, like the digital lead generation side. I think that Kyle's channel, if a lot of people, I feel Kyle kind of listen to me because I point them in a direction that has nothing to do with me. That's what I'm kind of known for. And so Kyle is a really good resource for boots on the ground, year 1 through 3, trying to figure out how to do marketing. I'm looking at all his tutorials. They all look solid. I'm more, you've already got some of that figured out. Now you're wondering which lead generation system is best. You can use inboundrem.com for that. And also for some real high level strategy stuff, like creating a digital marketing plan, things like that. Go to inboundrem.com. And if you really, really feel like it, you can enter in your information into my contact form and I'll reach out and help you personally, directly. All right. So we're going to go for our final break here. All right, welcome back to the bonus content, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with the final 10 minutes of our interview with Kyle Handy. We've already talked a lot about content marketing. This final last 10 minutes, Kyle, is going to be humoring Robert Newman, which is oftentimes part of what the Mailrite Show is about. And Robert Newman is curious to know, so you've been doing all this amazing content marketing. I am looking at content that I personally, as a professional content marketer, feel is geared towards, like if you're doing inbound marketing and you're answering questions that new agents would ask, that's usually going to get you inquiries from new agents asking you questions, which probably means you design the content that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to know, has this content marketing been successful for you in terms of getting new people into the EXP opportunity, which we just finished talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea when I started. Again, it was mostly I was starting it to kind of scale the people that I was already building in my organization. What I didn't really expect in the early stages of doing this, after about 3 or 4 or 5 months, and I started having some inquiries, I was like, oh, this actually could be cool on another side of this as well. It is the fact that, yes, it's getting me into dialogue with, many agents. And it has been a very, very successful deal for me. I mean, if you look back, I mean, basically in the first, year that I was here at EXP, I had maybe about 40 to 50 agents total. And, since the time that I've, started the digital marketing and the YouTube and all that, I've basically taken my team from right around that number, maybe a few more, to now 360 agents. And so, I mean, it just really goes to show that it is successful. And even for, even though my content is geared for newer agents, what I've found is that even experienced agents, they still are joining my organization because what they're tapping into is, hey, if I join Kyle's group, I can utilize what he's building, what he's structuring to help me grow my team and help me grow my organization. I don't have to go out there and redo everything that he's already doing. Because, again, that's just kind of the way our business model is structured, is if somebody joins me and then they want to grow a team, it benefits me. It's in my best interest to make sure that that person's successful as well. And so, it's one of those things where I think, it's helped on a lot of different fronts. And again, now, I teach agents about doing this on a real estate sales side of it. And it's taken off. I mean, again, I've got one guy that I was mentioning earlier on YouTube for sales here in San Antonio. I mean, I told him, hey man, don't expect anything for 12 or 18 months, that just because kind of what I saw it took for me to get some traction, but he's seeing it within 6 months. And so the one thing I will say though, and this is why I think, for me, it's worked so well, is because I've had a blog in the past. I even started up a YouTube channel a long time ago. I wasn't following the right formula, which was, I do keyword research now. That's something that I really invest a lot of time in early on, because you could create the very best blog post, you could create the very best YouTube, video, but if there's no demand for that and you don't already have an audience, it's going to be very difficult for that video or that piece of content to gain traction. And so as much as like I love to go deep and I can, get into the nitty gritty of pretty much every aspect of a real estate business, there's some things that, even though I'm sure it's super helpful to like a very experienced agent, the amount of people that are there is very small. So like, even if you create a video for that niche, it's going to be tough if you don't already have an audience to have those people kind of connect with that piece of content, and it never gets shown. And so, you got to start with, what's the demand for this piece of content? What's the demand for what you're doing? And obviously right now, there's more demand because there's a lot more newer agents out there than it is for, very highly seasoned agents. Plus, highly seasoned agents, most of the time they've got their thing down, right? Like they kind of know what they want to do. Yeah, they tweak things here and there and they watch, certain or listen to podcasts or whatever. But it's like, for the most part, they're not like actively, I feel, as much searching for solutions to kind of, completely change their business. Whereas new agents, I mean, there's just an abundance of agents looking for somebody to help guide them.
Right. That was an incredible answer. And so now for those of you who have hung in there, you've waited. I have one thought to share. So 13 years I've been doing this myself. What? What?
He's going to butt in.
I'm only teasing.
Wait 1 minute. Hold on, Robert. I've got something to say that has nothing to do with what you were going to say. It's this whole other direction. Just give me a second. No, here's what I've noticed, Kyle. I've been doing this for 13 years. I still talk to 2-3 agents a day, typically speaking, brokers, agents, small teams, big teams, you name it. And EXP has been coming up a lot. It's been coming up a lot, like in terms of people asking me questions about it, people who are moving to it, old Keller Williams peoples who are moving entire team structures over to Keller Williams. And I've been asked a lot of questions about it because I know a lot about the EXP business model only because it operates entirely in the world that I call home, which is the digital world, the virtual world. You can do an EXP business from any place that you want to. I'm noticing that you've structured your home office to be your little, like your office domicile. So, and one of the ways that EXP versus Keller Williams that I personally have noticed, one of the ways they've been able to restructure their business is they've removed a lot of the traditional cost centers that relate to real estate. They're not so invested in brick and mortar. And one of those, the most common questions that I get, Kyle, that I love the way that EXP is shifting the mindset, is that traditional brokers are no longer providing a great deal of value using today's tools in terms of the way they train agents. So if you're a new agent and you join a brokerage, if you're lucky, this is a good brokerage, they're going to hand you off a free CRM login to like KV Core or something like that. And they're going to say, use this tool and spend $800 a month and we'll take care of the rest. That's a good brokerage. Most brokerages don't do that.
Nope.
But they don't really give you any kind of insight about what this tool is supposed to do, about how you become some kind of like moderately skilled user using what is probably a fairly complex CRM tool. They don't do any of that. You got to find somebody in your office to mentor you potentially, and oftentimes new agents are actually not able to do that. What I am personally noticing about EXP is you are not my first guy that I found that is working under the EXP umbrella who's embraced digital and is posting lots of really valuable, specific content that trains somebody how to do these things. And the best part about all of that is that you could learn from you, Kyle Handy, anywhere in the world. Now, there's probably only a certain small set of market conditions that would require somebody to have a real estate trainer that was located in their own city. For the most part, you can have a real estate trainer be located anywhere as long as they understand the real estate business. They don't have to be you don't have to be in San Antonio. You don't have to be in Sarasota. You could be anywhere. So I like what I'm seeing in terms of the way that EXP is shifting its philosophy, though I think my closing comment is that there's definitely, if you're getting recruited into EXP, make sure that you're getting recruited by a guy like Kyle, that your team leader, whoever's at the top of the stack, is completely committed to training you if you're a newer agent, because EXP is definitely going to reward the entrepreneurial agent. And if that entrepreneurial agent has not been getting a very good deal from, let's say, Keller or Remax, and most of these brokerages suck for their top performers. They really do. They're not providing top value. Compass is trying to compete, but I don't think that they offer top value there. They do offer a really incredible mobile app. And so if you're looking for some digital tools, Compass still has a good offer. But if you're entrepreneurial and you're looking for somebody that's going to reward your own independence, then I think EXP is a brilliant place to look. That's my assessment, Kyle.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you'd like to add to that? Because I know I just expressed a lot of opinions about an operation you've invested yourself deeply into.
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think, but I'll even go like kind of one step further, and I'll talk about the mindset behind why I do what I do, and many agents do what they do at EXP. And it's kind of the idea that, I'll go back, and when we talk about the, fact that we're publicly traded, we all own part of this company. Like, I've got, a vested interest in this company's success. Whereas most agents, if you work for Keller Williams, you work for Remax, wherever it is, I mean, they're probably great places, but it's like, you don't necessarily have a vested interest to see that brokerage do very well. I mean, you want to work there, you're probably proud of it, but financially, you don't have much to gain unless maybe you own the franchise, or right, like you've got some ownership interest. It's the same idea that we talk to clients in real estate about all the time. Would you rather rent a home or own a home? And if you rent the home, are you going to be like fixing the tiles and painting the walls and doing all this stuff? Probably not. But when you own part of the business, which again, all of us as agents at EXP, we all get ownership in the company. It's this mentality that we want to see the company grow. We want to see it succeed. And so we do things as agents that typically would be reserved for mostly, owners, franchise owners, that they would be doing. We as agents are the ones now doing that within EXP. And so, we do over 70 hours of live training every single week, just to kind of give you one tangible benefit. And the majority of those hours of training that are being put out inside of EXP World, albeit they're virtual, you don't get to go into an office and shake the person's hand or whatever, but the majority of these 70 hours are all being taught by top agents all around the country and now all around the globe. So, I mean, the top agent in Miami might be showing you his listing presentation. The top agent in California is telling him how, he does door knocking. And so you get to pick what's important to you, and then you get to hear the best of the best. It's almost like getting to go to a real estate convention or a conference every single week, right? Like you get to go to a conference and hear from these top people gathering. And it's because, one, we do it just because we want the company to succeed. Two, as an icon agent, which agents that are selling a lot of real estate, and have hit the icon award, one of the requirements to get that 16,000 in stock back is to give in a certain amount of time each year in the form of training. And so again, all of our training is really excellent. The way they created this system, I think is genius. And again, I mean, is it for everybody? No, but for most people, like you said, being local, like having a local person is less and less important today, as far as, making sure you succeed. Because what we do at EXP, let's just say you are brand new and you're like, well, I don't even know how do I, fill out Form 7C on a contract. Well, when you're a new agent at EXP, they're going to assign you a mentor that does that. But the majority of what we need to know to be even successful in the business is how to generate leads, how to market, like all these big concepts. And those concepts are taught by the agents that are actually doing the business, and, all over the country. So you get to hear from the best of the best. And then when it comes to kind of, the minute details, I mean, I don't say they're minute. I mean, it is important you fill out a contract right and stuff like that, but just knowing that is not going to make you succeed. That stuff is taught by a local mentor in your market. And so, yeah, I mean, you're kind of covered on all bases. And then as far as, the expansion and being able to grow your business, so much bigger than just your local market, I think that's where EXP really shines. So, I mean, if you're that agent that you're, 3-5 years in the business, 10 years, maybe even in the business, 20 years, and you look back and you don't really have a lot to show for it, you've made a lot of commissions over the years, but not much to show. And you don't have anything really set aside for retirement. That's where I think EXP can separate itself for you, just because of the stock compensation I talked about earlier, and the ability to build that revenue share all over the country.
Nice. Well, listen, Kyle, thank you for joining us. It's been an amazing show. We've gone way over our allotted time. I'm going to take John's normal line, and I'm going to say, I think that you've been a great guest, and I'd love to have you back.
Oh, definitely. Hopefully you come back in the new year, because it's been fantastic discussion.
Yeah, I'd be honored. I appreciate you guys having me on for sure.
And next time we'll probably, for those of you listening, if we're going to have Kyle, we'll probably get deeper into his overall expertise. I know that a lot of people have been curious about EXP, which is why I steered the conversation in that direction, is that I get a lot of questions. So I assume some of our listeners were kind of curious, and Kyle is definitely an expert in that category.
Can I just pass a quick comment?
I
think it's like a lot of the things that we've discussed, like agents say, what is the best CRM? Well, it's really hard to answer, because I think there's different CRMs depending if you're an individual agent, if you're a new agent. Are you in a power team? Is there going to be somebody using the CRM all the time? There's many factors. So to answer what is the best CRM in a very generalistic way is totally misleading, because there isn't. It just, and I think it's really the same with brokerages.
Yeah.
I've got the highest respect for the founder of Keller Williams, and like I said, I mentioned his book, and as a business leader, I still think he's top notch, and I still think. But I've had experienced agents say to me they just got fed up with being what they call nickeled and dimed, and they didn't really feel they were getting a lot of value. But then there's other agents that probably would get a lot of value by joining, that wouldn't really be suitable for EXP. They're just not at that stage where they would get the most from the experience. So to say that there's one brokerage or one organization that's better, it really depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've always said when people ask that question, what's the best CRM? I say, well, it's the one you're going to use, because we all know as agents, most of the time, they don't even, they'll get a CRM and then they never even use it. And so the best one is the one that you use. I mean, it could be an Excel spreadsheet. If you're going to use it, that's better than, Boomtown or something if you're not going to use it, right? And so it's kind of like, same thing with the brokerage. It's like, what appeals to you? Are you technology based? Like, do you think you would, go into these trainings that are done on the computer and get value out of that? Or do you think you would get value out of something else? Like, what are you going to use, and have that be what you use for your decision making versus just, some other person's opinion? Because there's what I found out, there is probably a million ways to be successful at real estate. What one person's path is may not be another person's. So figure out what you think is important, do the research, of course, to kind of give you, so you can make an informed decision. But yeah, there is no best, CRM. There's no best brokerage out there.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, John. Wrap us up and take us offline, please.
Well, we're going to go now, and hopefully we'll be back with another great guest or internal discussion between me and Robert. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye. Bye.